For a moment later, Blotwell said, "Sir, please, sir, do you collect butterflies?"
"No, I don't,"
Mr. Wilkins replied shortly. They walked on in silence for a few yards. Then, "Sir, Mr. Wilkins, sir, a boy I know at home used to collect butterflies and moths, sir. He had millions of them, all labelled with their names underneath." "I bet he didn't have millions," said Binns. "Well, hundreds, then, all laid out in beautiful glass cases, and then one day a terrible tragedy happened. You'd never guess." Blotwell paused to encourage questions, wincing and pursing his lips to underline the full horror of the catastrophe. Mr. Wilkins declined to be drawn, but Binns could not bear the suspense.
"Well, go on, then. What happened?"
"Well, one day when the boy I know went to look at them, he found they'd all been eaten." "Eaten?" Binns was incredulous. "Are you joking? Who on earth would want to eat dead butterflies?" "Moths," said Blotwell sadly. "You never saw such a collection of moth-eaten butterflies in your life." He turned to the master in charge. "And I'll tell you another strange thing, sir." But Mr. Wilkins was listening with only half an ear, for by now they were approaching a gap in the hedge giving access to an adjoining field. This was a stage in the journey where the master on duty had to keep his eyes and ears open. Occasionally, not very often of course, but it did sometimes happen, boys would hurry so far ahead that they would be safely out of the master's line of vision by the time they reached the gap. It was easy enough to slip through and take cover behind the hedge until the rest of the school had gone past. Then, emerging with caution, they would hurry straight back to the school, arriving with half an hour's stolen freedom to spend before the rest of their colleagues returned. Mr. Wilkins stopped at the gap and scanned the field beyond, where Mr. Arrowsmith's mechanical hedge trimmer was at work in a far corner. Then he glanced down and noticed the muddy imprint of juvenile Wellington boots leading through the gap. Frowning, he followed the footprints into the field and saw two rain-coated figures crouching down inspecting some object lying at their feet. Oddly enough, they were some yards away from the hedge and making no effort to conceal themselves. Mr. Wilkins bellowed at the top of his powerful voice. "Jennings! Darbishire! Come here at once!" The crouching figures rose and came bounding towards him. In the lead ran Jennings, an untidy 11-year-old with raincoat flapping open and socks puckered like concertinas around his ankles. Beneath a tangled fringe of dark hair, his large brown eyes were shining with excitement, and as he ran he called, "Sir, sir, stop press newsflash! We've made a discovery, sir!" Trailing behind came his friend Darbishire, lolloping at an ungainly trot. This was the natural order of things, for where Jennings led, Darbishire always followed, not always willingly, because he was cautious by nature, and following Jennings was a pursuit that often ended in near disaster, but Darbishire's loyalty overcame his qualms, and wherever Jennings led the way his friend could be found a short distance in the rear. Mr. Wilkins waited until both boys had squelched their way over the soggy ground and slithered to a stop before him. Then he said, "You boys were deliberately hiding until the walk had gone past. You will report to me for punishment as soon as you get back to school." "Hiding? Oh, no, sir, honestly, sir." Jennings was round-eyed with innocence. "We weren't trying to dodge you. Really we weren't."
"Then what were you doing, skulking over there instead of following the footpath?"
"Well, sir, we were just walking past the gap when that man with the rake called us to come and see what he'd found." By way of proof, Jennings pointed along the hedge where one of the farm workers could be seen raking up the branches and cuttings left by the mechanical hedge trimmer on its way round the field. "It's ever so rare to find one, sir. He said he'd never come across one before in all the years he'd been hedging, sir."
"Who had never come across one what before?" the master demanded.
"A hibernating hedgehog, sir. That's what we were looking at."
"Were you indeed?"
"Yes, sir. His name's Barney, at least that's what the others call him. The one in the woolly cap and the scarf, sir." This didn't make sense to Mr. Wilkins. Outside the pages of a picture book for 6-year-olds, he was unable to visualize a hedgehog, awake or sleeping, dressed in such unlikely garments. "I don't mean the hedgehog's called Barney, sir," Jennings amended. "I mean the man who told us about him." Still agog with excitement, he did his best to fill in the details. According to Barney, the mechanical trimmer had been making its untidy way along the hedge while the farm worker had followed in its wake, raking up the roughly cut branches and staking them for burning. In a cavity amongst the roots of an oak tree growing by the hedge, his rake had been caught in some obstacle, and while pulling it clear, a bundle of wet leaves intertwined with ivy had rolled down from the tree roots and stopped at his feet. "It was a hedgehog, sir, fast asleep and wrapped up in..."